before men carved their words into stone, before the gods had names upon the lips of mortals, the world was silence, a breath held between the stars. From that silence, powers stirred. Some came like morning light, bringing life and warmth. Others moved like nightfall, offering quiet and concealment. But one came with thunder, not born of peace, nor asked for by fate. Power wild, restless, etched in fire and carried by wind. That power had no kindness in its first breath. It knew no love. It brought no promise. And yet, without it, the world would never hold. For what is life without its storm? What is balance without the chaos that shapes it? Its name was Set, and those who listened closely, those who knelt beside the desert wind, and heard the tremble in its howl, they knew one day the storm would rise, not as a god of temples, but as a shadow that could not be forgotten. And when that day came, the world would never be the same. When the world was still young, before the stars had names, before the Nile had chosen its banks, before the breath of men stirred the dust, the sky opened. From the heavens came Nut, the sky goddess, robed in stars, and from her womb were born 4 pillars of the cosmos: Osiris, bearer of green life; Isis, weaver of wisdom and love; Nephthys, keeper of silence and mystery; and Set, born with thunder in his lungs and flame in his blood. He did not come gently. The skies tore open with lightning. Winds howled through the desert like the voice of something ancient and broken. Sand curled and lifted as if fleeing his arrival. Even his mother trembled. Even Geb, the father of earth, looked upon this newborn god and said, "In this child, the storm has found form. Let the world prepare. He will never rest." While Osiris walked among the fields, blessing soil with abundance and vines with fruit, and while Isis whispered secrets to the hearts of mothers and kings, Set was drawn to the edges, to places where the wind forgot its name, where stone cracked beneath a burning sky. Men worshipped Osiris with joy, brought gifts to Isis with songs. To Set, they brought fear, sacrifices left in silence. Eyes averted, words hurried, hearts trembling. But one never turned away. Nephthys. She watched him not as a goddess watches a threat, but as a shadow watches fire with stillness and quiet knowing. When Set raged and called down whirlwinds upon the sand, she stood at a distance, unshaken. And when the wind stilled, she would step closer and say, "The world fears what it cannot understand." He would not answer, but the fire in his eyes shifted. Not cooled, not calmed, but changed. There was something in him that longed to be seen. Above all of this, hanging like a blade over the horizon, was the ancient prophecy, older than temples, older than gods who remembered their birth. He who is born of storm shall raise his hand against his brother, and the rivers shall run red. But even in his defeat, his shadow shall not fade. Set laughed when he first heard it, but deep within, where thunder sleeps and fire waits to be called, he knew the prophecy had already begun. And in the quiet beside him, Nephthys waited, not with fear, but with silence, like a shadow that knew its time would come. Under the reign of Osiris, the earth blossomed. The Nile carried its blessing to the fields, and men sang hymns of gratitude, their voices rising like incense to the heavens. Temples were filled, priests intoned sacred songs, and peace stretched across the land like green cloth upon the sand. But Set, the one who bore the storm, had no place in this calm. He walked the edges of the desert, where the Nile met the sand and silence spoke louder than hymns. Men lowered their eyes when they saw him, clutching their children close, offering hurried prayers that he would pass them by. And in his chest burned a question that became a wound. Why do they turn from me? Am I not as divine as Osiris? Do I not hold the strength to guard their world? One evening, he stood watching the people carry their gifts to the golden temple of Osiris. Their laughter rose, their songs filled the air, and Set felt the old fire coil inside him. From the shadows came Nephthys. Her presence was like the hush of nightfall, cool upon his anger. "They fear you," she said softly, "and fear is power." Her words fell like drops upon burning stone. Set did not answer, but the flame in his eyes stirred. Yet it was not only mortals who turned from him. Among the gods, whispers grew. "Set is too wild," they said. "He knows no balance. If he rises, the order of Osiris will crumble." At last, Ra himself gathered the council. Osiris sat in light, Isis beside him, her gaze serene. The gods of the throne turned as Set entered, his shoulders carrying the heat of the desert, sand clinging to him like a second skin. He spoke before any other voice could rise. "Why was I not called first?" His words struck the air like a blade. Osiris looked upon him calm, yet firm. "Because this is not a council of war, brother," he said. "It is a gathering for those who sow harmony." Set's breath thundered. "And do I not keep harmony? When Apophis, the serpent of chaos, slithers from the abyss, who meets him? I do. When demons crawl from the edge of night, who strikes them down? I do." Osiris's gaze held steady. "But after you, only ruin remains. Men do not rejoice in your name, Set. They whisper it in dread. Even the Nile shrinks when you walk its banks." Silence fell, heavy as a shroud. No god dared break it. Then Nephthys stepped forward, her voice soft as breath, yet carrying through the hall. "Even a storm holds up the sky. Without it, the heavens would fall." Osiris's eyes lingered on her, unreadable. "Then let the storm remain beyond the house." Set said nothing more. He turned and left, his steps echoing through the pillars. That night, he wandered the desert alone. The sands rose behind him like restless spirits. In every grain, he heard his brother's words repeated. "Men fear you. They do not want you." He lifted his gaze to the stars. They gave no warmth, only cold. And with a voice like broken thunder, he whispered, "Is this your world, Osiris? Then I shall build my own." And in that moment, not rage but resolve took root in his heart. Not destruction, but the hunger to be seen, to be needed, to be more than a shadow. Only Nephthys, silent in her watching, knew that the prophecy had begun to stir. The land prospered under Osiris. The fields swayed with grain, the temples glowed with hymns, and men knelt not in fear but in devotion. He ruled without a blade, and the world adored him for it. But Set, the storm-given form, was left standing in the shadow of this peace. One day, in the golden palace by the Nile's first flood, the gods gathered. Ra sat at the center, like the sun at its zenith. Isis, calm and radiant, at his side. Set entered late, sand still clinging to his skin, the desert's breath heavy upon him. His presence silenced the chamber. "Why was I not summoned first?" he demanded. His voice cracked the air like a storm breaking. Osiris turned, his gaze steady as a river. "Because this is no council of warriors, brother. This is a gathering of those who weave harmony." Set's eyes flared. "Do I not guard harmony? When Apophis, serpent of chaos, rises from the abyss, who goes forth to meet him? I do. When demons spill from the edge of night, who scatters them with fire? I do." Osiris answered, calm yet unyielding. "But after you, nothing grows. The people speak your name only in dread. Even the Nile hides when you walk its banks." Silence fell like a heavy curtain. The gods shifted, uneasy, none daring to speak. Then Nephthys moved forward. Her voice was soft, yet in the stillness it rang like a string struck in the dark. "And yet, even the storm holds up the heavens. Without it, the sky would fall." Osiris's eyes lingered on her, long, unreadable. At last he said, "Let the storm remain beyond the walls of the house." Set's jaw tightened. He said nothing, only turned and walked from the hall. His footsteps echoed like distant thunder. That night he wandered the desert, the wind rising with every step. Osiris's words clung to him like chains. "The people fear you. The people do not want you." He lifted his face to the stars. They shone cold, without mercy. And he whispered into the wind, "If your world has no place for me, Osiris, then I shall carve a world of my own." And in that moment, resolve took root sharper than rage. The prophecy stirred, not as a whisper, but as the first rumble of thunder. Only Nephthys, standing in the shadows, saw it begin. After that council, Set never again stepped into the palace of Osiris. His path led him away, to the barren places where the Nile's gift ended, and the desert began its endless reign. There, the storm became his companion. The stones cracked at his command. The winds circled him like lions awaiting his word. Even fire seemed to bend toward him, as though recognizing a kindred spirit. Amidst the sands, he began to build. Not temples filled with hymns and dancers, but fortresses of black stone, where the sound was not prayer but the clash of blades. He gathered tribes from the edges of the world, those who lived where the green did not reach. "You," he thundered before them, "shall not bow to harvest and river. You shall be stronger. You shall become the storm itself, and none shall dare laugh at your weakness again." And the tribes listened, for in Set they saw not mercy, but strength, the strength to take what was denied. In their hearts grew a new devotion, a cult not of song but of power, the cult of Set. One night, under a sky cold and sharp with stars, Nephthys came to his fortress. She watched as warriors pledged themselves, their hands upon their black-forged blades. When the hall emptied, she spoke softly, "You are building a world." Set's eyes gleamed like burning coals. "A world where I am not shunned, where strength is no curse, but a crown." Her gaze lingered, deep as the night itself. "But can you keep such a world, without breaking your own heart?" He turned from her, unwilling to answer, for deep inside he knew, already, a fracture had formed within him. That night he dreamed. He stood upon a border. To one side, the green fields of Osiris. To the other, the endless sands he now claimed. Between them stood Nephthys, her eyes full of mercy and sorrow. When he woke, he knew the truth. The step he had taken into the desert had closed the road back forever. For where the world of the storm is born, the silence of peace can never return. For a long time Osiris believed his brother's storm would remain in the desert, howling at the horizon but never crossing into the fertile lands. But one dawn, the storm came walking among the fields. Set appeared, not alone. Behind him marched the warriors of the desert, their steps raising clouds of sand, their black-forged blades glinting like lightning. Where they passed, the ground cracked in heat. Farmers dropped their tools. Mothers pulled their children close. Some fell to their knees before Osiris's temple. Others, trembling, bowed before Set, uncertain which power would claim them. Osiris stepped forth, the golden temple's incense still curling behind him. "Why do you come with sword in hand, brother?" he asked, his voice steady, yet touched with sorrow. Set's eyes blazed as the desert winds stirred at his command. "Because I will no longer live in the shadow of your green fields. I am strength. I am the fire you all fear. And I will not let my name be spoken only in whispers." The people trembled. The air itself seemed torn between them. Osiris spoke with calm. "You seek to rule through fear, but the world endures not by terror, but by trust." Set laughed, the sound like thunder rolling through the sky. "Trust? They sing to you because you feed them grain. But when Apophis rises from the abyss, it will not be your name they cry. It will be mine. I do not ask for trust. I will take it by force." Lightning split the heavens, and though their blades had not yet met, the first storm of war had begun. From the shadows, Nephthys watched. Her eyes held no fear, only a terrible understanding. For she knew, from this moment, there would be no return. That night, Osiris spoke quietly to Isis. "He prepares for war," she said, her calm voice hiding a trembling sorrow. "He prepares himself," answered Osiris. "And when the hour comes, we shall see what endures." the storm or the harvest. And far away, standing upon the cliffs of the desert, Set looked over the green fields, the wind howling around him, and whispered, "This is only the beginning." The dawn was strange. The sun rose through a red haze, as though the heavens themselves expected blood. From the desert, like a plague of dust, Set's warriors advanced. Their cries mingled with the roar of the wind, their black-forged blades flashing like lightning. Osiris came forth to meet them, not alone. Behind him stood farmers and herdsmen, men with little more than spears and sickles, yet their eyes shone with faith. Isis laid her hands upon their brows, blessing them with calm resolve. When Set stepped through the storm, Osiris called out, "Stop, brother. Do not bring war where life has taken root." But Set's eyes burned, and his voice thundered like a breaking sky. "If the world will not honor me freely, then it shall honor me in fear." The desert roared, sand filled the air, and the first clash of steel rang across the fields. The warriors of Set struck like a whirlwind, driving men to their knees. The earth itself seemed to tremble under his steps. Yet the followers of Osiris stood their ground. Though their blades were simple, their faith was unshaken. When the wind cast them down, they rose again, standing shoulder to shoulder. At the heart of the storm strode Set himself. Every strike of his blade fell like a bolt of thunder. But Osiris came forth to meet him. He did not raise a sword. He raised his hands, and from the ground burst green shoots, wrapping around the legs of Set's warriors, slowing their advance. The air filled with the scent of grain and blossoms, and doubt pierced the hearts of those who marched with the storm. With a roar, Set tore through the vines, calling down a bolt of lightning. The heavens split. Osiris staggered, falling to one knee. Yet in his eyes there was no fear. The battle raged until the sun sank. And when the night fell, the storm finally broke. The field lay covered in bodies. Life and death mingled, and from the ashes small flowers dared to rise. Set stood, his breath ragged, his warriors battered but not broken. He had not won, but neither had he fallen. Only one figure approached him in the silence. Nephthys. She laid her hand upon his bloodied arm. Her eyes carried no judgment, only sorrow. "This is only the first storm," Set whispered, and the night agreed with a wind that would not rest. After the battle, the world grew hushed. Osiris returned to his temples. The priests sang, but their hymns no longer carried carefree joy, only prayers for peace. Set withdrew into the desert. The storm that followed him fell silent, yet within him the tempest only grew. At night he sat upon stone ledges, watching the sky that gave no answers. His sword lay beside him, still stained with blood, heavy as the silence in his heart. His warriors remained loyal, but they did not speak. They felt the change in him. He was no longer only wrath. He had become shadow, and in those days, Nephthys came more often. She did not bring counsel, nor did she try to soothe him with words. She simply remained, her presence like the cool hush of the night. And Set, god of the storm, found himself waiting for her. One evening, as the sky deepened to violet, he broke the silence. "Why are you here? Why not with Osiris? He is righteous. He is strong." Nephthys' eyes glimmered in the half-light. "You are strong as well, but in another way. I am the storm, the shadow. They curse my name." She stepped closer. Yet no prayer is spoken with such honesty as the prayer of fear. Set turned toward her, and for the first time, the fire in his eyes trembled. "You do not fear me?" She said nothing. Instead, she reached out, laying her hand upon his shoulder. And in that touch was all that words could not carry. Understanding, sorrow, tenderness, love. That night, for the first time in ages, Set slept peacefully. Nephthys watched him as he rested, a tear glistening in her eye. For she knew his peace could not last, for her love was forbidden. She belonged to another. Their bond was a secret woven of shadow and betrayal. and from that seed would grow the fate that would change all things. The nights of the desert became their refuge. Set and Nephthys met in silence, their words few, for what they felt could not be carried by language. He the storm, fierce and feared; she the night, cloaking his fury in stillness. And in each other's presence, they found the impossible, peace. When her hands touched him, the fire within him softened, and for the first time, Set knew happiness. But the heavens hear even vows unspoken. From their forbidden union a child was born. His name was Anubis. He did not enter the world to the sound of hymns, but to the hush of the night. His eyes were dark as the desert depths, his spirit already touched by mystery. It was whispered that he would guide the souls of the dead, a bridge between the living and the silent beyond. Nephthys wept as she held him. "They will never accept him," she whispered. "He will be a stranger among his own." Set gazed upon them, and pride and pain warred within him. "Then I shall give him strength. He will never bow his head, not to gods, not to men." But the realm of the gods felt the shift. Isis, ever watchful, was the first to see. She did not speak the truth aloud, yet her eyes grew colder when they met Set's. And Osiris, though he knew nothing yet, felt the distance widening between them. Set, however, looked upon his son, and felt a fire unlike any other. He taught Anubis to listen to the wind, to hear the footsteps of those who had passed beyond, to walk without fear in places where shadows lingered. And when the child laughed, the storm in Set's chest fell quiet, like a lion lying beside a lamb. Yet deep within, Set knew this peace was fragile, for truth cannot remain in shadow forever. And when it was revealed, the storm would rise again. That night, as he watched Nephthys cradle their son, Set whispered into the desert air, "If the world tries to take this from me, I will tear it apart." In the realm of the gods, secrets never sleep. They spread not through words, but through glances, silences, and shadows. And soon all knew, Set and Nephthys were bound by more than blood, and the child with eyes of storm was theirs. Isis was the first to confront it. Her voice was steady, yet her gaze sharp as a blade. "Brother, you have broken not with me, but with the law itself." Osiris listened, long in silence. At last he said, "He has betrayed not only the order, but the balance of the world." Messengers were sent to the desert, but Set did not come. "If he seeks me," Set declared, "then let him come himself, for I will not kneel to his throne." And so Osiris came. He bore not a sword, but a staff, crowned with the green of life that never withers. Set met him in the storm, fire in his gaze, yet in his heart still the tenderness. He bore for Nephthys and Anubis. "Why?" Osiris asked. "Why choose this path?" "Because I live," Set answered, his voice breaking like thunder. "I am no shadow of your peace. I am the cry of the storm, and I too love." "A love that betrays is no sacred thing," said Osiris. "A love forbidden is all the more real," Set replied. There were no more words. Osiris raised his staff. Set raised his blade. The world shook. Earth split, the heavens blazed. Sands rose in towering waves. Even the stars seemed to flee from the sky. In the shadows, Nephthys clutched her son. Her lips trembled with a plea. "Stop this." But no one heard. Set struck Osiris, once and again, until at last he cast him down, into the depths of the earth. The soil swallowed the green king. The world grew still. The storm had triumphed, but not for long, for Isis gathered the broken body of Osiris, and from death itself she bore Horus, the son of the fallen king. A new prophecy rose, echoing through eternity. "The shadow shall not perish, but it shall be cast down, and the son of the risen shall raise the sword." Set stood at the height of his victory, yet in his heart he felt only emptiness. Nephthys had drawn away. Anubis looked upon him with silence. His triumph was but a shard of a broken heart. Years passed. The fields grew green once more. Men sang hymns again, not to Osiris, but to Horus, the son born of the slain king. Raised beneath the watch of Isis, Horus carried fire in his heart, and a blade as sharp as truth. From his youth he knew there was but one he must defeat. In the desert Set still ruled. He sat upon a throne of bones and storm. His face hardened, his heart emptied. Nephthys no longer came. Anubis walked among the dead in silence. When Horus came, he came not as a brother, but as judgment. Set rose to meet him. "You wear the eyes of your dead father," he said. "And you," Horus replied, "carry the heart that murdered him." Their clash shook the border of earth and sky. Storm against light, wrath against justice, the one born of pain, and the one born of loss. The world held its breath. The gods watched in silence. And at last, the storm faltered. Horus struck Set down. His blade hovered above the fallen god. "End it," Set gasped. "I am ready." But Horus did not strike. He looked into Set's eyes and saw not only a killer, he saw loneliness, a heart that had once longed to be loved. "You are no king," Horus said, "but you are part of the balance. Without you, chaos would return." "You leave me?" Set whispered. "I leave you to live," answered Horus, "and to live is worse than death." And so Set was cast to the edges of the world. No longer a ruler, no longer a lover, no longer a storm. Yet when the desert wind rises in the night, when lightning splits a clear sky, when anger stirs unbidden in a mortal heart, Set still lives, for he was not destroyed. A shadow cannot die. Centuries have passed. The temples of Osiris once more resound with hymns. The name of Horus is carried proudly by warriors. And in the realm of the dead, Anubis guides souls into silence. Yet sometimes, when a sudden storm rises over the Nile, when lightning tears the calm night, or when fury awakens unbidden in the heart of man, a whisper drifts from the desert sands. "I am still here," for Set cannot be destroyed. He can only be cast down. But the storm always waits, in the shadow, in the heart, in the wind, and who can say, perhaps one day, the storm shall rise again,